All right, so today we are going to talk about help defense. Help defense is a crucial component of a strong basketball team. While individual on ball defense is important, no defender can stop an opposing team alone. A well coordinated help defense ensures that all five players work together to protect the paint, rotate properly, and contest shots. Without a good help defense, teams become vulnerable to dribble penetration, easy buckets, and breakdown in coverage. Many coaches use the shell drill to teach help defense as it emphasizes proper positioning, communication, and rotations. This drill allows players to understand where they need to be in relation to the ball and their assignment, reinforcing defensive fundamentals and just focusing on the different aspects of positioning on the defensive end. However, while the shell drill is useful for teaching spacing and movement, it has its limitations. The biggest downside is that it lacks game like decision making. Since the drill follows a set pattern, defenders do not have to react to live offensive actions such as drives, cuts, or ball screens. This predictability can lead to players becoming reliant on the exact movements of the offense that you are using with your shell drill on the defensive end rather than learning to read and react in real time situations. Instead of focusing solely on structured drills like the shell drill, coaches should instead incorporate decision making drills that require defenders to make quick in game adjustments. So the shell drill can still be used to go over that positioning and go over your defensive principles, but we should also incorporate decision making drills as well. Small sided games, disadvantaged situations, and live defensive drills that help players develop instincts, that's what we want to focus on. We want to focus on real competition. By challenging defenders to recognize and react to different offensive actions, coaches prepare them to make the right choices in high pressure moments. Ultimately, the goal of teaching help defense is not just to reinforce positioning, but to develop intelligent, adaptable defenders. Basketball is unpredictable, and defenses must be able to adjust on the fly. By shifting the focus to live read and reaction drills rather, coaches can prepare their teams to execute effective help defense when it matters the most in actual game situations. So let's go over some of these drills that we can use, maybe after we teach our shell and after we go over our positioning on the defensive end to help, really build strong defenders that can react to any changes on the fly. Okay, so the first drill that we are going to look at here is a 2-on-2 drill that is going to create an advantage for the offensive team here so that the defense has to read and react, right? That's what we want. We want the players to read and react and play in real time situations. This drill is great if you're working with a youth team that you're just kind of teaching help defense to, and you want to kind of lock in those principles. But it's also good for an older team as well if you want to kind of reiterate on those principles, kind of get them warmed up on the defensive end, and get them practicing real time situations. So we're going to have two teams here. As we can see, we have a blue team and a white team, right? We're going to have our defenders on the outside right here. So our blue team, they're going to be the defenders. We're going to have our offensive team here on the inside. Okay, so what's going to happen? We see the cones here. There's a cone directly across from each player, and that's because each player is going to run up to that cone and circle around it. Okay, so at the same time, number one here is coming to their cone, they're circling around. Number one here is coming to their cone, they're circling around. Number one here is coming to their cone, they are circling around this way. And number two, and number two here is coming to this cone, and they're circling around. So keep in mind that the blue team is our defenders. So this blue player is coming here. We got white number one is coming up here, right? White number two with the basketball, right, is going to be dribbling up here. And blue number two is going to be right there. So we have everybody at the cones right now where they're about to wrap around. Now, as you see here, right, number two on the white team is going to have that advantage behind number two, or rather in front of number two on the blue team. So number two, if we're just going to stay in a man-to-man setting, right, number two is just going to have a wide open lane. If number one here on blue focuses on covering number one on white, number two is going to have a wide open lane to the basket. So maybe the first time that you run this with your teams, the first time you execute this drill, maybe that will happen. Maybe you'll have number 2 take that wide open lane to the basket. But chances are the second time, the blue team is going to understand we can't let that paint touch happen. So this number 1 player, number 1 on blue, is going to come here and stop the basketball so we don't get a paint touch, right? Then we can either get a switch, or number 1 and number 2 can communicate to switch back. So what we want to teach here is that read and react, right? The first time it might happen where, you get that wide open lane to the basket. But the second time and the third time, your team's going to understand what needs to happen, right? Your team's going to understand where to pick things up on the defensive end and how to play help defense. So you're teaching them how to play, not having them kind of move through their motions robotically. All right, folks, I need to quickly stop right there before we move into our next topic to mention that right now, 97.1% of our daily viewers are not subscribed to our channel. So that means if you are one of these people, if you are one of these 97.1% who are not currently subscribed but are watching this video, it would be greatly appreciated if you could take the time real quick to hit that subscribe button. It will help us continue to make content like this, continue to make basketball plays for other coaches, basketball drills for other players, and basketball, everything that both players and coaches and organizations alike can use. So again, if you could really quickly take the time to hit that subscribe button, it'll just take 2 seconds. It would be greatly appreciated. But moving on to our next topic. Now let's look at my personal favorite drill to teach help defense. Now, when I teach help defense, I want to go over the same basic concepts of our help defense that we incorporate with the shell. Meaning we really want to focus on positioning, we really want to focus on helping, we really want to focus on communication, right? But one thing that we want to focus on that the shell doesn't have is read and react. We want to teach our athletes how to help by being able to read and react on the defensive end, just like you'd want to do on the offensive end. You don't want to teach your athletes plays on the offensive end because then they get super robotic. Yes, you can incorporate plays into your offense, but you can't do that without teaching them how to play. So we want to do that exact same thing on the defensive end. We want to show them how to play, how to help. Now to start, we're going to do this in a 2-on-2 setting. So what we're going to do is we're going to start here with the basketball in the hands of number 1. Now to start our 2-on-2, what we're going to do is have number 1 on defense, which here we have our blue players on the defensive end. Number 1 is going to move right next to, we'll actually have it on this side. So we'll have number 1 move up right next to number 1 on the white team, and they're going to touch the floor with their hands. So we're going to give the offense, which is the white player, number 1 on the white team, we're going to give them the advantage. So we're going to allow number 1 on the white team to get a paint touch. Now, what this is going to force number 2 right here to do is help. They're going to have to step in and provide a help in order for number 1 not to just get a wide open layup. So they're going to end up stepping in here to help, or if even better, maybe they can pick up number 1 before they even get that paint touch. So maybe the first 1 to 2 times that you teach this to your team, number 2 might not actually help. But then number 1 will get a wide open layup. They're just going to get a lane to the basket. So the second time this happens, now number 2 on the blue team, they're going to be more eager to help. So they're going to most likely fill in here and provide a help. And then we'll probably have a switch. Number 1 will switch on to number 2. And then that way, your team is learning to communicate. Your team is learning to read and react, right? We'll continue to play this. Now, what we'll typically do here is to encourage defense is either you get a point by getting a stop on the defensive end, or you turn to the offensive end only if you get a stop on the defensive end. Otherwise, the offense can just keep having the ball back to score over and over again. So let's take a look at this one more time. What we want to preach here, and then we'll probably even see our number 2 player here move back a bit because they know what's coming, right? Number 1 is going to have the ball. Number 1 on the blue team, they're going to start with a paint touch. And number 2 knows that they're going to have to step in for a help probably before they even get in the key, right? You might have number 1 not step on to help to number 2 right away, but during the second or third possession, you will teach them what to do. And in an ideal world, we have your players then switch. They read the situation, they reacted, they communicated through it, and now we're set up in a perfect defense on a 2-on-2. So rather than teaching a shell where you're just doing the same thing over and over again, we're putting it to the test now. And we're starting small in a 2-on-2, and then we can actually incorporate more players and try it in a 3-on-3. Okay, so this drill is a 4-on-4 read and react style defensive drill. Okay, so let's get into it. What we have right here is we have a team on offense, and this is going to be the team uh, that has the white icons here. Okay, and then we're going to have a team on the defensive end, and that is going to be the team with our blue icons here. Okay, so what we're going to have, number one right here is going to be a coach, right? This maroon number one, and they're going to start with the basketball out of bounds. And essentially what they're going to do is they're going to pass to one of the offensive players to give an advantage to the offense, which will force the defense to help. So when the coach passes the ball to one of the offensive players, the person guarding that defensive player will have to sprint to half court. They have to leave the person they're guarding and sprint to half court to give that advantage. Okay, so let's say, for example, our coach passes the ball here to number one. Number one on the defensive team, which is the blue team, is going to have to sprint up here to touch half court. And that is going to give number one the advantage to get a paint touch. So we're going to have to then read and react, right? This player is still one pass away. This player is still one pass away. So number four is going to have to come to help out. Then we can drop and have somebody back here. Number one, when they recover, will take the one pass away on this side, if that's how you want to do your help defense, right? There are also different ways you can go about it as well. But, in this style of defense, you'll typically have the read and react like that. Because if not, if number four doesn't come there to help, right, and number two is still here, number one's up there, you're just going to have a wide open lane. Now, you could set that, help down here, but we don't want them to get in the key. We don't want to get them to have that paint touch, because then you just have a wide open layup here for number four in the white team. So we want to get that help nice and early. So the best way to do that is have this person, number four, right, sprint up here to stop the ball before it even gets in the key, right? Then we have number two drop back to protect that help. And then when number one, when they're sprinting back, they can sprint back and get into this one pass away position here on number two on the white team. So basically what we're doing right here, it's pretty, self-explanatory. A coach is passing the ball in to a player, right? That player is leaving their defender, right? And we want to then recover that way. We want our players to read and react, right? We want to read and react to, having to help. And that's what we're doing with this drill. All right, folks, that is all we have for today's particular topic. If you made it this far into today's lesson, it is greatly appreciated. Now, if you guys could also do me a huge favor and like this video and subscribe to our channel, it would also be greatly appreciated. We are the Online Basketball Academy. My name is Coach Danny, and I continuously upload different basketball plays, basketball systems, basketball tactics, and basketball drills that youth basketball players or training basketball players can use, or basketball coaches can use with their players and their teams. Like I said, folks, if you could take the time to like this video and subscribe to our channel so I can continue to make this type of content for you all, that would be greatly appreciated. Till next time, peace out.